Welcome back, Pyromaniacs. While we're waiting, whoop. Indeed. Hello, Samuel. How's it going? I'm doing just fine, thank you. Got a big day planned. Big and busy. Just how I like it. At least when video games are involved. Tee hee hee. Oh, now why would you extinguish? Where are these flowers coming from? I'm fulfilling another subscriber request. Well, the same... Come to think of it, I'm not even sure if he's a subscriber or if he's just a viewer. But anyway, I'm fulfilling a viewer request. Well, I guess he'd have to be a subscriber if he's as on top of my videos as he has been. Anyway... We're burning 20 bad NES games. Smoosh, 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 smoosh. There we are. Oh, wait, I can't pull this back out, can I? Donkeys. That's okay. So, let's get started. First up, Bible Adventures. And let's see, we're doing Bible Adventures, then one of the games in Bible Adventures is Noah's Ark. Then there was one called Jesus in the Temple, and I think the other one is David and Goliath. What can we use to represent that? Okay, sure. The statue can be Goliath. So let's talk about this game, Bible Adventures. It was made by Wisdom Tree, formerly known as Color Dreams. Once upon a time, Color Dreams was continuously putting out unlicensed video games for the NES. And Nintendo was annoyed because they weren't getting a piece of that pie. So they threatened retailers that if they sold any games by Color Dreams, that Nintendo wouldn't sell their games at their establishments. So I guess everybody cut Color Dreams off. So Color Dreams rebranded itself as Wisdom Tree and started making Christian video games and selling them in Christian bookstores. Figuring that Nintendo wouldn't go after a Christian enterprise due to the certain cultural ramifications, I suppose. Because this was the 1980s, early 90s, as we remember. So Bible Adventures is 3 games in one, and 3 remarkably unimpressive ones. The gameplay style is very, very, very similar to Super Mario Bros. 2 US. And all the levels are very similar. There's not much in terms of music or sound effects. And overall, it was just a very unimpressive experience. And it's made numerous worst game lists. So let's show Wisdom Tree exactly how we feel about what they did to those Bible stories. Oh, look at that. Smoosh, smoosh, smoosh. Beautiful. Next game on the list. Where the heck is it? Did I not... Oh, why is it not in order? I thought I put these things in order. Recently heard of a game called Carrion. It seemed really cool. Okay. So let's see. Pitfall has alligators in it. And probably some sort of... I know there's frogs in that game. Oh yeah, and there's like undead creatures too. That's good enough. So let's talk about Super Pitfall and Pitfall Harry. So everybody's probably played, well, maybe not nowadays, but Pitfall was an Atari game and a very nostalgic one for a lot of people. Then came Super Pitfall on the NES, and it's quite an experience, to say the least. The very first ladder that you come across is a beginner's trap. So I don't know what the devs were thinking, if they were just in a bad mood, or they were just going to go, hey, watch what we're going to do. But the very first ladder drops you into a spike pit. And then the rest of the game, you have to run around jumping at, like, the air to try to uncover hidden symbols in order to unlock this dungeon at the very bottom of the world, I guess. And to rescue your girlfriend. And then go all... And, like, nothing in that game... Nothing about the game is, like, clear. You, like, in order to win the game, you have to rescue your girlfriend, go all the way back to the beginning of the game, and fall off of a particular platform in a particular way to beat the game, which is beyond ridiculous. And there's all kinds of cryptic nonsense, and he has a gun that he can shoot things, but most of the enemies are smaller than the path of the projectile. So you have to, like, time it so that if an enemy is jumping, you have to hit them in mid-jump. So, yeah, Super Pitfall, not a good game for the NES. So, And so, what's this game Carry On all about? Do you know anything about it? So it shall burn. Next game on the list. Hudson Hawk. Alright, where's that John at? I thought I put these in order. There it is. So Hudson Hawk is a... I don't even know what I would put with this, but... Here, let's get... Nah, no, not that. These. And these. So Hudson Hawk is supposed to be based on a Bruce Willis movie. But here's the thing. It sucks. I actually watched Mike Matei play this. And he thought it was so bad that he actually said out loud, you're looking at a future nerd episode here. So why don't we just put these blocks wherever we want to represent just how skillfully the levels were designed in this game. Because apparently, some of the levels are designed in such a way that there's only one real path that you can go. Which is awful. And the difficulty is apparently very insane. Like, insane difficulty. Like, not even remotely close to a fair challenge. And poor controls to boot. So... And interestingly enough, another Bruce Willis movie that got adapted into a game, Die Hard. Also not a particularly good game. That's one that AVGN reviewed, if you're interested in that. Just mind that there'll be lots of swearing. Goodbye, Hudson Hawk. Never trouble us again. Alright, next game on the list. We have Renegade. If I can find it. There it is. This is a fighting game. Let's get all the rough, tough fighting people out. Who else do we want to pull out? Oh, sure. Renegade, made by Taito, or Taito, not quite sure how to pronounce it. So this game was actually a predecessor to River City Ransom, which is actually considered a good game. But the controls in this game are very weird. When you're facing one direction, A throws a punch in front of you, and then B will throw a kick behind you. But then when you turn around, it reverses the controls. B will throw a punch this direction, and then A will kick in the other direction. Which, I remember playing this game as a teenager, and it was, I think I played it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before moving on to something else. Other than that, it was just known to have just extremely dull, monotonous gameplay, and there's no simultaneous co-op mode. Which, for, like, a beat-em-up game, like Renegade, is, like, inexcusable. So goodbye, Renegade. Say what now? Come on. There we go. Next game on the list. Chubby Cherub. There it is. So let's see, Chubby Cherub. It's about this little cherub angel thing. So here, let's get little fireflies and I guess things to do with light or cherubs or something. Not everything's going to be a perfect analogy, but it's okay because we're just here to have fun. That is the name of the game. Okay. Rotund idol. Good. That'll give us our chubby part. Chubby Cherub. Now just look at that cover. It's made by Bandai. Same company that brought us the Power Rangers. So let's talk about Chubby Cherub. I won't forget to mention Don Bluth, Karen, don't worry. So, Chubby Cherub suffered from extremely unresponsive controls. Apparently, the whole purpose of the game is to, like, fly around and, like, collect stuff. But it was extremely tedious. Like, just one-dimensional gameplay without a lot of variety. And, like, the difficulty was rather unbalanced. Like, there were certain enemies that I got you, Karen, don't worry. Apparently there was, like, one particular enemy mentioned, these, like, dog creatures that just constantly spawn and jump up and, make things difficult, like unnecessarily difficult. Oh, I didn't really mean to do that, but okay. And, let me see my notes. Yeah, it's not considered a good game for Nintendo. Despite that seal of quality at the bottom that doesn't really mean anything. Let's heat up the fireflies. Good night, Chubby Cherub. After this, we're going to have more Phantasy Star 3. And then later, more Genshin Impact. And then later on tonight, I'm going to be playing Among Us with a bunch of other streamers. You won't want to miss that. Next game. Cauldron 6-in-1. I don't know if I can find it. Oh, I had these things in order. I don't know why the game Sure. Another game brought to us by Bandai and Toho, actually. Maker of the Godzilla films. Oh. Hey. So this will represent our Mr. Hyde portion. And here's our Dr. Jekyll portion. Pretty apropos, since I believe he was a Victorian character. If I can get him to stand up properly. There we go. And then here's Dr. Jekyll's potion. So what can we say about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? It's basically a skill avoider game. Although people call it a 2D side scroller, but I would call it a skill avoider, even though you even have to put that in quotes because it's very unlikely that you'll be able to avoid very much. Inevitably, you're going to get hit by stuff. Some of the stuff, it's pretty certain that you're going to get hit by no matter what you do. So if you take too much, I guess, what do you call it? Like sanity damage, I guess? You turn into Mr. Hyde. And the object of Mr. Hyde is you got to try to turn back into Dr. Jekyll. By shooting the Psycho Wave, as the game advertises there, at enemies to try to get, I don't know, these power-ups that give you sanity back. And basically, Dr. Jekyll, the whole game is Dr. Jekyll on his way to his wedding, but every single person in town hates him for some reason. And so there's people throwing bombs, there's, like, spiders that get in the way, there's kids that, like, shoot slingshots at you, and ladies whose singing is so bad their musical notes hurt you, and birds that take dumps on you, and guys that throw bombs. It's just... Now, all of that on the surface might not be so bad if there was actually some balance to it, but it's a horribly unbalanced game. Horribly. I'm not even sure who the intended audience was supposed to be, but Dr. and Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is one of the worst games ever made. So, that's all I got to say about that. My little exterminator, do what you do best. You cannot stop Mr. Hyde. Oh. Let's stifle these flames here. And we are done. So that'll do it for 20 bad NES games. I hope you enjoyed it in some way. Next up will be Phantasy Star 3, so if you're interested in sticking around for that, please do so. I'm going to take a short break, get things set up for Phantasy Star 3, and then we're going to keep going with that. And then later, Genshin Impact, and later on tonight, Among Us with other Twitch streamers. So, as for this, whether you're watching live or watching on a replay, thank you for coming on this part of the journey with me. Stay safe out there.